I survived a crash when I was 10, but he never forgot and now he's back. I still remember the night it all went wrong. I was 10 years old. We were driving home from my cousin's lake house late, the rain hammering the roof of our SUV so hard the wipers barely kept up. Every time they swiped across the windshield, the night outside seemed to shimmer and blur, like we were moving through a world painted in water. The wipers squealed, struggling to keep pace with the storm, leaving streaks of rain that twisted the streetlights into jagged, moving shapes. Mom was scrolling lazily through her phone, the dim glow lighting her worried face, and Dad was humming along to a soft song on the radio, the kind that usually made long drives comforting. But that night, it felt distant, fragile, like a memory from someone else's life. Every bump in the road, every distant flash of lightning, felt like it was happening somewhere else, not inside the car, where we were trapped together in this fragile bubble of wet glass and metal. Then the SUV in front of us swerved without warning. I don't remember the crash itself, just the world spinning, the terrifying screech of metal, glass spraying like rain itself was cutting through the car, and then an awful silence. When I opened my eyes, we were upside down in a shallow ditch, the seatbelt biting into my chest. Blood ran down my forehead and stung my eyes, mixing with rainwater and sweat. My parents weren't moving, and that's when I saw him. He stood just outside the shattered windshield, barely in the corner of my vision, tall, unnaturally thin, wearing a dark trench coat and an old-fashioned bowler hat, like he had walked straight out of a photograph from another century. His posture was rigid, hands folded neatly in front of him, yet he radiated an impossible calm. He walked toward me slowly, step by deliberate step, as if the world itself had slowed to match his pace. I turned my head to look directly. He wasn't there, but when I looked forward again, he had moved, closer, perfectly still among the flashing red and blue lights of the emergency vehicles. I blinked hard, hoping my eyes were deceiving me, but every time I glanced sideways, he advanced. Slowly, patiently. Time seemed to stretch. I could feel every heartbeat in my chest, every pulse in my temples, and it was all painfully loud. My breathing came in short, ragged gasps. My throat burned. I wanted to scream to call for help, but no sound came. It was like the world had pressed a hand over my mouth and held me silent. Paramedics were cutting me free, shouting questions I couldn't answer. "Can you hear me? Can you move?" I tried to nod, but the motion felt useless. My eyes flicked to the man again. He was closer now, his shadow long against the rain-soaked asphalt, moving almost imperceptibly, step by deliberate step, as if he existed slightly out of sync with the world. None of the adults seemed to notice him. None reacted. By the time we reached the hospital, he was gone. They told me my parents hadn't survived, that I was lucky to be alive. Broken arm, a few cuts, a concussion, nothing permanent. I told myself it was trauma, that the man in the bowler hat was a trick my mind had played to shield me from the worst of that night. I told myself that over and over, like a mantra. It was a hallucination. It was the shock. It was nothing. I never told anyone. I grew up, moved across states, got a small apartment, a steady job, and a dog that slept at the foot of my bed. I drove cautiously, avoided highways where rain pooled and the wind howled. I checked my mirrors constantly, half out of habit, half out of fear. For 15 years, I didn't see him again. I thought I was safe, that the accident, the fear, the man in the bowler hat, all of it had stayed in the past. Until last week. It was a Wednesday, gray and overcast, the kind of day that presses on your chest without reason. The air felt heavy, like every raindrop was carrying weight. I stopped at a red light on my way home from work when a delivery van slammed into my rear at full speed. The impact threw me forward, then back, and suddenly I was trapped in my body, strapped to a stretcher, neck brace keeping me rigid. I could only stare at the overcast sky while paramedics barked instructions around me. Pain radiated through my arms and legs, sharp and insistent, but worse than the pain was the helplessness. Every flicker of movement in my peripheral vision made my heart jump. And then I saw him, just at the edge of my vision, standing calmly between two paramedics as if he belonged there. The dark trench coat, the bowler hat, the slow, deliberate steps. He began moving toward me, step by step, unhurried. Every movement was deliberate, measured. My chest tightened with a fear I hadn't felt in years. I tried to warn anyone, tried to shout, but my voice came out as a croak. He's here. He's... nothing. They told me to stay calm, that I'd be fine, but he kept advancing. The stretcher slid into the ambulance, Every flick of my eyes, every twitch of my neck showed him closer. Always closer. The lights of the ambulance reflected off his pale face, giving him a spectral, almost unreal quality. My mind raced. How is this possible? How is he here? Just before the door shut, the brim of his hat dipped into my sight. He leaned down slightly, politely, like a gentleman tipping his hat in greeting. His pale face held the faintest smile. "I apologize for the delay," he said in a soft, old-fashioned tone that made the hairs on the back of my neck rise. "There was an error. You were supposed to leave that night, but somehow you didn't. I've come to fix that." His gloved hand reached toward me. The heart monitor screamed. Paramedics rushed back, paddles in hand, but the doors had already closed, and the ambulance was empty, except for me and the man in the bowler hat. If you're reading this, you might think it's just a story. Check the back of your car tonight, and whatever you do, don't look directly at the edges.